Today we're going to read a book called Koala Lou. This book was written by Mem Fox, and the illustrator is Pamela Lofts. This animal is a koala. I see a large koala and a small koala. Maybe it's about a mommy and her baby, or a daddy and his baby. Let's read and find out. We want to know more about the main characters. There was once a baby koala so soft and round that all who saw her loved her. Her name was Koala Lou. The emu loved her, the platypus loved her, and even tough little Koala Claus next door loved her. But it was her mother who loved her the most of all. 100 times a day she would laugh and shake her head and say, "Koala Lou, I do love you." So who are the main characters so far? We see her on every page. What's her name? Koala Lou. Whenever she stretched in the early morning sun, or climbed a gum tree, or bravely went down the path all by herself, her mother would smile and say, "Koala Lou, I do love you." The years passed, and other koalas were born, brothers and sisters for Koala Lou. Soon, her mother was so busy she didn't have time to tell Koala Lou that she loved her, although, of course, she did. How do you think Koala Lou feels? Let's take a look back at some of the pages we've read so far. I want to think about the setting for this story. There's no setting in this one, just other characters, small characters like the emu and the platypus and Koala Claus. She's tough, she lives next door. I still don't see a setting. Remember, a setting is where the story happens. Oh, this page has a setting. Where is this? In the forest. I see trees and plants. Koala Lou lives in this tree with her mother and all her new brothers and sisters. And her mom doesn't get a lot of chances anymore to say that she loves her. Of course her mom does love her. She just doesn't say it as much. She's busy. And Koala Lou looks sad. Every night, as she curled up under the stars, Koala Lou thought about the times when her mother had looked at her and said, "Koala Lou, I do love you," and she longed for her to say it again. When you long for something, you really want it. She wanted her to say it again. One night, Koala Lou had a splendid idea. Preparations had begun for the Bush Olympics. Preparations are things you do to get ready. She would enter the Olympics. She would compete in the gum tree climbing event, and she would win, and her mother would fling her arms around her neck and say again, "Koala Lou, I do love you." So I've seen 2 events happen in this book so far. The first one, her mother doesn't say she loves her as much, and Koala Lou is sad. Here's the second one. Koala Lou is going to get into the Olympics. She's going to be a climber in the gum tree climbing competition. Koala Lou began her training right away. She jogged and puffed and lifted weights, and she panted. She hung from a branch with one claw at a time till she ached. She did push-ups till her stomach hurt, and last of all, she climbed the tallest tree that she could find, over and over and over again. Oh, she is determined. She wants that prize. She wants to win. She wants to hear her mom say those words. She's working hard, even when she's tired. So the Bush Olympics is a big event in the middle of this story. Sometimes her mother would watch her and ask, "How you going, Blossom?" "Fine, just fine," Koala Lou would reply. At last, the day of the Bush Olympics arrived. So the day's finally here. Koala Claus had also entered the gum tree climbing event, and everyone knew how fast she was, but Koala Lou wasn't scared. She saw her mother in the crowd, and she imagined her saying again, "Koala Lou, I do love you," her heart filled with hope. She's working hard. She wants her mom to be so proud of her. She wants to hear her say those words. Let's find out what happens. It was Koala Claus who went first. Her climb was a record-breaking 22 meters in 70 seconds flat. The spectators whistled and cheered and wildly waved their party hats. A spectator is somebody that's watching. Can I do better than that? Wondered Koala Lou. I must. As she stepped toward the tree, a hush fell over the crowd, so it got real quiet. "On your mark," said the kookaburra. "Get set. Go!" Koala Lou leapt onto the tree. Up and up and up she climbed, higher and higher and higher, faster and faster until there she was, right at the very top. The spectators roared and clapped and stamped their feet. But she wasn't fast enough. In spite of all her training and all her hoping, it was Koala Claus who won the gum tree climbing. Koala Lou came in second. How do you think she feels right now? Well, second is pretty good. After all, she worked really hard. She did her very best. That's still something to be proud of, isn't it? When we do our very, very best and we work really hard for something, we should be proud of ourselves, even if we don't win, even if there's somebody out there better than us, because we're better than we used to be. Let's find out if Koala Lou thinks so too. Koala Lou went off and hid. She heard the shouts of the Bush Olympics and she cried her heart out. What was it that she really wanted more than anything else? Yeah, it wasn't about winning, was it? But because she didn't win, she doesn't think that she's going to get to hear those words. What words does she want to hear? Let's find out. When the very first stars of the evening appeared in the sky, Koala Lou crept home through the dark and up into the gum tree. Her mother was waiting for her. Before she could say a word, her mother had flung her arms around her neck and said, "Koala Lou, I do love you. I always have, and I always will." And she hugged her for a very long time. And how does Koala Lou feel now? That's what she wanted. It wasn't about the winning. She knew she did her best. When you do your very best at something, you should be proud. When you work really hard towards something, you will get better at it. Can you think of a time where you worked really hard at something the way Koala Lou worked really hard at the gum climbing event? I mean, she worked really hard to climb that gum tree. It's something you worked hard to do.